Hey, in this video we're going to see how to get started with C# programming. You can see that I am in Visual Studio right now, and you can pretty much ignore this start page for now. I'm going to go up to the File menu and go to New Project. The New Project dialog is sort of a mess, but it gives you a bunch of options. On the left, you'll see a column that has a bunch of different types of projects, different categories. So we want the Visual C# category. You can see I have some other stuff installed that you can check out. But in the Visual C# category, there is Console App .NET Framework. That's what we're going to be using. These other ones are for different types of projects. Depending on what you're using C# for, they might be useful. But I'm going to choose Console App because I just want a regular plain program, not anything fancy. So down at the bottom there's a place to choose the name for your project, and so interestingly this is going to create two things. This is going to create a project and a solution. So we have a name for our project, which I'm going to call Hello World. And if you've done any programming before, you can see where this is going to go. And the solution name it chose for me, I'm going to change that to Game 110. And so I'm going to use a solution as a container for all my projects. You can think of your projects as different programs, and a solution as a way of holding all of your, organizing all of your projects together. So it also gives me a chance to choose the location, which I'm gonna go somewhere in here. That sounds good. And so all this is good. It gives me an option for framework, .NET Framework 4.6.1. There are a bunch of other ones installed. And we're not necessarily going to be using the same framework that we would use for a Unity program. So there are some C# features that'll be a slightly different, but we probably won't run into any problems. We can just leave it as it is. Press OK, and it'll create our solution and our project for us. So it's also going to create some startup code here already for us, and I'm just gonna delete it all. Boom. So from here we have an empty project, and over on the right you can see the Solution Explorer that shows us the organization of our project. We have the Game 110 solution, we have a Hello World project, and we have in our project properties, references, config. I don't care about those. What's important to me is program.cs. This is a .cs.c# file, and this is the source file, the text file that's going to hold all of our code. So to start off with our Hello World program, we're pretty much going to recreate what they created for us, maybe a little simpler. So we'll start off with a using statement, and then I'm going to make a class. I'm going to call it Hello World. And in this class, we're going to have, let's do static void main and string args. All right. So far, I've typed up a bunch of stuff, and this stuff I would normally call boilerplate code. That is code that you end up typing quite a lot just to start things up. It doesn't have as much meaning, it doesn't do as much as the code I'm about to write, but we can still talk about what this means. Using system, using is a special command that indicates that we're going to be using other code from a different module. And the system module is built into C#, to the .NET platform, and that's going to give us access to some calls that'll help us like print out to the console. That's mainly what I'm using it for now. Class is a keyword that indicates that it's a structure that's going to hold stuff. It's like a container for our code. And hello world is the name of the class that I'm creating. These curly braces are just kind of showing what's contained by that class. So what's contained by it is a single function called main. So it has a couple of qualifiers in front of it, static and void, and the identifier is main. So the actual name of this function is main. And I can tell that it's a function because it has this thing, parentheses with stuff in it after the name. So all of that will become more clear when we actually talk about functions, and we'll go into detail about what this means. But for now, main is the entry point for our program. Every program needs to start somewhere, and main is the way that C# defines where programs start, what code is going to be executed first. So in main, I can type things, and since I'm using this system module, I can do console.writeLine. And I'll open a parenthesis and put in something in double quotes. Hello world. Alright, so I'll save that, and I'll go up to the top and press the green triangle button, start, and watch what happens. It's going to happen any minute now. Okay, there we go. And of course Avast is annoying. Alright, so if you were quick, or if you went back and you paused the video, you could have seen that it worked. Great. It says hello world, because that's all I told it to do. I told it to write a line onto the console, the command prompt there, and it just says hello world, the text that's within these double quotes. And we'll talk later about variable types and what all of this means. But you should be able to follow along and understand that C# is made out of statements, and those statements are essentially commands to the computer to tell the computer what to do. So in the next line, I'm going to do a console.readLine. Now this is not going to really do much for me. Normally, if you think about, well, what the meaning of this these commands are, WriteLine is going to write a line onto the console. It's going to print out some text. And readLine should read in some text. So if we run this, you'll see what it does. Okay, Avast is being a jerk. Abort. Okay, so it says hello world, and it's waiting. So what we have so far is that it has written that line, and now it's reading a line, but it's gotten no input so far, so I have to give it something. It's going to read whatever input I type in until the end of the line, which is when I press enter. So I can put in whatever I want. Press enter, and it's done. So it read the line, but it did nothing with that information, and that's okay. All I really wanted was for it to wait for me to press a button so that I could actually see my message. So hello world, press enter, and it's gone. Beautiful. Alright, so that's the hello world program in C#, and next time we'll start talking about more parts of C#.